Hey, hey, beautiful people. It is 2/22/2014 at 1:34 p.m. I've got my first 3D printer on the way. And I want to thank everybody who watches my videos and who has supported my work because you're the reason why I'm able to do this. Um, my focus with the 3D printing is to help humanity change the way that we live and that we how we've lived in the consumer society that we've had. And 3D printing is the way that we're going to do that. Um, we don't need to go to Walmart for a lot of things anymore, or go to even the hardware stores. We have. It's amazing as I've been studying up on the files that persons have put online. We have the ability to print various machines. We have the ability to print robotics. We have the ability to print screws and nails and bolts and measuring equipment, and it just goes on and on and on. And when I really started looking at the files, I was just totally blown away. A little bit about my history. I have been into and a lot of people don't know this, but throughout the 80s, I was a production engineer. I became a machinist and was making custom pool cues and then darts and then windsurfers and surfboards and then geometric tables. And then in 1987, after harmonic convergence, I went back to Mississippi from Boulder, Colorado. And there I went back into machine school in tool and die in CAD CAM, computer aided design, computer aided machining. As I left CAD CAM, I went back into production engineering. I went and spent several years in Alaska working on a vortex up there, but then a good friend of mine had introduced me to a guy that was doing manufacturing and making canned California live earthquakes, earthquake in a can. And he was looking for a tool and die maker. And anyway, I stopped off to visit him to help out on his projects as a production engineer and a machinist, and help him out on his projects. And I ended up spending a couple of weeks with him. And I was going back out to the bush in Alaska, up behind Yukon Charlie in the 70-mile river at Crooked Creek. And this was 1992. And anyway, right as my friend Stefan, who was my cabin mate at the time, and he was also another tool and die maker, we were going out gold mining that summer together. And I got a call from the guy that made the earthquake cans, and he asked me to go to China. And so I did, and I started running factories over there for the next several years, and then got into import-export out of China. And then I've always been into remote home power systems and power generation, and I got into water fracturing and LED bulbs and helped develop LED bulbs for commercial use, AC application use. And me and my partners had LED bulbs wholesale. And that was my startup. And we were here to change the planet, was what we were wanting to do. And this was back in 2008 when Obama was being elected. And he was wanting to turn all of America green. And so I put all of my money into building up LED bulbs wholesale. And then in working with the Chinese factories, developing products as that which could change the planet. That particular LED bulb is a replacement for your 4-foot fluorescent tubes, but these are unbreakable. They got 50,000 hours. They're totally recyclable. They don't produce heat, no UV radiation or anything like that. And they also, this particular bulb runs. This is only 15 watts off the modern solar panels that you can get 500 watts on, divide that by 15 and see how many of these bulbs you can actually run off a single solar panel. Without the UV radiation and all that, it was just phenomenal. But what happened back then was Obama and the United States government decided that they wanted all of the green items that they were going to produce and use for the military or changing the government buildings or for new construction. They wanted it 100% made in USA. There's nothing 100% made in USA. You cannot mine the metals. You cannot drill the oil. You cannot do anything in that light bulb and have it made in USA. And there again, we've got so many rules and regulations that is all about insurance and product liability insurance and personal insurance, as well as the cost of the labor and everything that it takes to do those, that we can't manufacture products like that 100% in the USA as small inventors like me that help bring that kind of stuff out. And so I work directly with the research and development teams in China, giving them my ideas for free, even though they were going to be making money off of it, so that these products could get out. And I did that for quite some time. In 2009, after the economic collapse in 2008, I started getting the messages that I needed to come back out and into my spiritual work more full-time and not be focused on making money and all that sort of stuff in the 3 and 4D world. And so I hit the road after Fukushima, and I closed down my machine shop, closed down all the projects that I was doing. I was working on water fracturing at that time. I was making water torches and doing all kinds of things in that realm, as well as providing for my own income by making hurricane straps for the Gulf Coast, because I lived on the Mississippi Gulf Coast after Katrina, the place where everything got washed out. And that's how LED bulbs came. It came out of a need to have a different type of a bulb after Hurricane Katrina, because I had a generator that when running lighting, I only had so much power, and I had to make a choice between running refrigeration and air conditioning or lighting, because lighting was so much of an issue. It took so much power to run those incandescent lights. And that's how LED bulbs came up, because I was constantly putting in compact fluorescent bulbs in on my generator, and they blow left and right. And so I realized that I could develop LED from parts they had at Radio Shack, and began my testing on it, and then got into the research and development with the Chinese people, and realized I couldn't compete here in America, because just that one machine to develop this particular bulb cost about $1 million for that one machine, and then you got to go through all the UL testings and listings. And so I realized this whole system is just out of whack. We got asked by our federal government to help change this planet, and then we got shut down by the same people, and they started buying products from the big corporations who, in previous videos, I said when I was running factories in China, a lot of times I would see the made in Japan or made in Taiwan or made in Korea labels being put on products that were being manufactured right where I was in China. And that's what big corporations do. And they can put made in USA on it, ship it into Mexico, and then up by train, and nothing never gets checked and going through customs. And that's how they get around all this stuff. Well, this was just a major frustration until 3D printing really came up and going. And in 2005, I started hearing about the RepRap and 3D printing, and was like, man, this is going to be pretty cool when we finally get to that point. Right now, we have got so many persons all over this planet that are working on 3D printing in different ways. We've got guys that are using all different types of plastics, and they're developing the recycled plastics too, where we can use milk jugs and other type of recycled plastic, so we don't even have to pay for our filament. We can make a new filament, which is the printing media for the machine, out of recycled plastics, which is really cool. And that means we can print things for free if you've got not only your 3D printer, but your extrusion molds for printing your filaments. But anyway, I ordered my 3D printer, and this is what I'm coming up to. I did not stay in computer-aided design after my schooling in the 1980s, and much of what I had learned there it's so different now. In the past few days, while I'm waiting on my printer to arrive, and it's 1:44 on 2/22/2014. That's pretty cool. Here's the call out to the 144,000. We need 144,000 professional or top grade computer aided design persons to help this 3D printing going, and not only to take care of some initial projects, because the ideas are out there. We just got to get it into the format of printing on a 3D computer, which the ones that we have only have 11 inches by 11 inches or 10.5 inches by 10.5 inches by 11 inches to be able to print within. And so any large product like a wind turbine design or an aquaponics system or water desalination systems or what else did I come up with? I mean, last night I sat in bed going, oh my God, I see how all this can be done, and I see how it can all be printed out to the larger thing and then broken down, so we're assembling small parts and we're using 3D printed bolts and nuts to assemble the whole thing. I see how all this can be done. But in order to do it, we need some good computer aided design persons interested in 3D printing, or even if they're not interested in 3D printing, understanding our limitations at this point on 3D printing and helping us to design some of these things that we wish to do to get it to an area where we can print multiple parts for a single project, all stacked within each other or around each other, to make this all happen much faster. As I was looking at the CAD and the other CAD programs, I realized that, man, it's going to take me months to use these limited open shareware programs because of the geometrics that they're using in them. It's not conducive to someone who is newly getting into it to think in those ways. We need some guys that are working on AutoCAD or Autodesk or some of these other larger programs that can just really see what we have to do and punch this stuff out. I have a solar dehydrator, Stirling Motors. Actually, the Stirling Motors already have the CAD files there, but solar water distillation units, aquaponics units, wind turbines, all of these things I see in my vision right now that we can take and put into CAD shareware files, and anybody with a 3D printer can print them. And I am not looking to make a bunch of money off this, but if we have secondary printers that are running, or third printers or other printers that are running 24/7, I don't see it as a problem to make $25 to $50 a day per machine off your print designs, so that we can make an income to pay for those things that we're needing here. We're going into alternative energy, and ultimately, guys, here's what the 3D printing group is all about. We have been in touch with Ralph Ring. Dave Stewart got in touch with Ralph Ring, and also Lisa Harrison and Brian Kelly, and they're talking about 3D printing Ralph's designs of the spacecraft. Same thing as Kishi has been speaking about in his own videos. We have the capabilities now. The technology is not that far out there. What the problem is right now is how to build these craft on a larger scale And what we need to do is take all these abilities to print everything that we've got out there and to confine it into our Star Trek replicators so that we can print plastics and metals, now carbon fiber, all different types of metals, ceramics, glass, it just goes on and on. We can print concrete now, but I don't think you're going to use concrete in a spaceship, but I mean, you could. Once you understand anti-gravity, it doesn't matter. But anyway, we have these capabilities to build the replicators now. And that's where we're going with this. But we have to work our way into the solutions that humanity needs right now. And that is power, that's housing, that's vehicles, that's all these different things. And we need the CAD guys. We need the computer-aided design guys who are willing to work for humanity to step forward now. As I was going through the CAD programs yesterday and all the different other CAD programs yesterday, I realized how deficient I am. And I can learn it, and I will learn it. But it's going to take me a lot longer to do that and to go forward with this project. And I'm putting a call out there to all persons who have good computer-aided design background who wish to change this planet and to work with 3D. And who can donate your time, because we don't have much money. And yes, we know that AutoCAD costs several thousands of dollars. That's why I can't just go out there and purchase a copy of AutoCADs for this laptop here and jump into it, because I could purchase 3D printers for that. See the dilemma? 3D printers could be running at all time for the cost of that one AutoCAD, and really more printers when we start printing more machines and are playing on that level. And it's far better to call in the guys who work with computer-aided design now and ask you to join us. And I would love to hook you up with our 3D printer group. We started just a little over a month ago, and right now we've got, I think it's up to 24 machines and stations globally that are coming online and ready to start printing. We've got to get the files for the things to print. We've got to develop the machines. We've got to develop the new level where we're going. And yes, this is getting back into the technology, but we've got to have this transition so that we can take our focus away from having to struggle to pay the bills and to figure out how to pay for gasoline in your house and all these other things that we have with the enslavement, consumerism society that we've got going on now. And we've got to make this transition. When humanity doesn't have to worry about all the stuff anymore that they've got to take to survive, when they don't have to pay for the power, or they don't have to pay for all of these things they're doing, they can focus on their spirituality and step more into those fifth and sixth dimensional energies. Those of us that are holding fifth dimensional and sixth dimensional energies, we're receiving all this knowledge because the field around us is the encodings with all the different potentialities and possibilities. And what do we do with this? And so I'm seeing all these visions of how we can change the planet, but I'm deficient in being able to put that vision down into a CAD program where we can print it. So there it is. I'm calling out for CAD designers and persons that are really capable in computer-aided design and who wish to change the planet, and also more 3D printers, because we need to get more of these stations online. As we look at the 3D printers, the primary focus is to replicate more printers so that we can get them out there into humanity and to keep that price inexpensive. That's part of what we're doing in the groups, as the groups, is make it less expensive for everybody else. Right now, a RepRap system in our group for the Prusa 3, the new top of the line one out there, is $1,000. It's actually $900 plus 3 rolls of filament, which is what, 6 pounds of filament or something like that, for an extra $100. And that filament, if you build an extruder or buy an extruder, then you haven't got to pay for the filament if you're making your own. See? And so you can lower that price. But the other machines, commercial machines out there that's being put out by the corporations are proprietary. And what those guys are doing is they're trying to take control of the market and and they're about 4 times the price of these machines that the 3D printing rip wrap or the self-replicatable printing group are doing. And in all the machines, 3D printing machines, we're trying to get the files for those machines put back in to the machine so you can print out or have what you need to build another, even with the parts that you can't print out. You know where to get them. You know where to pull it in so we can keep the price down. Well, the first thing to do is to build more machines and get them out there. More stations working together all over the planet. The second thing we would like to do, and that would be replicating machines and working on making more, getting persons out there. The second thing is to work with the group on larger projects. 3D printing, although you might be printing multiple parts in that 10 by 10 by 11 area on this Prusa 3, it takes a long time to print up that 11 inches in 10 by 10 in the XY axis. And with it taking so long like that, the second idea is to have a second printer or to devote so much time, print time, to running the files for the CAD group, for the computer-aided design 3D printer group. Because if we've got a large project and we're trying to build molds or we're trying to build certain parts, rather than spending months and months and months printing out on one single machine, we send out those parts, those files to other printers. They produce the parts and then send it back into the single group where it can be tested out, and that project is further developed. Now, the third thing that we want to do is to develop products like the wind turbines, like the solar dehydrators, like the water desalination units, that the files are going to be free. What my vision is for those things that I see and develop, I want a CAD guy that can set up the files that can be printed out, but I want these files to be open source for anybody and everybody who wants to print them out, where you can take it to any 3D printer and he can print these files and you're paying him for the plastics and the time. And if you've got a 3D printer, it's free. But then if you have your own 3D printer, a lot of persons out here don't want to purchase a 3D printer, and they're still in a consumer society, but they still want solar dehydrators. They still want wind turbines. They still want many of the things, aquaponics systems, aquaponics towers. They still want many of the things that we can print with 3D, but they don't want to purchase one or spend their time on it. They're just concerned about living in a different way, and they'll pay for these items. Well, there we can keep the price down by charging $25 to $50 a day per machine rather than our hourly wage and putting something together like that, like we have been used to playing in society with. And we can change the world quicker by getting these products out there to humanity and those persons that are playing with it. And by making that $25 to $50 a day per extra machine that we're printing these products and getting them out there, we end up being able to purchase more filament, more machines, more experimental things that we need to develop the replicators of where we're going. Do you see what I'm saying? And so my vision, my dream, I see it so clearly. Many of us see it clearly, but we need to build the team to even bigger standards. We need the computer-aided design guys. We need guys that are the whizzes that can throw these projects together and change and alter projects together, because there's a whole group of open source people that are putting their files to the net, and there's different things that we see and we wish to tweak about the files that they're sharing. And the CAD guys, the computer-aided design guys, can take those files and modify them to fit our needs and suit our needs. And that's what we're doing in the 3D printer group, is we're changing the planet by open sourcing everything we can, by getting it out there for the sake of humanity and for the sake of changing the planet and not out of making money. And so, anyway, um, what a fantastic time it is to be alive. If any of you guys are interested, get in touch with me either on my Facebook or at my email address, pearls2u, Pearls, the number 2, the letter U, at hotmail.com. That's my Skype address also, but I'm not receiving a lot of Skype contact requests unless you speak to me personally, because I've got a lot of persons from Ghana and every place else that are saying, I want to be your friend. And so unless you say it's about CAD CAM or 3D printing, then I might not accept your request. But anyway, and anybody that's interested in continuing donations for 3D printing, I'm also on at PayPal at the same pearls2u at hotmail.com. That's my email address, that's my Skype address, that's my PayPal address, and I am at bill.ballard.71 on Facebook. So anyway, I hope all you guys will join us 2 o'clock on 2/22/2014. What cool numbers. Hope any of you guys would join us for this part of changing the planet, going through the 4D and into 5D transition. Love you all. Namaste. Bye for now. What a beautiful day it is. What a great time to be here on Earth.